one of three speakers. This is amazing. It's Alcoholics Anonymous that I had never imagined. I got sober on the little island of Maui, where the population is about 60,000 at the time that I got sober. Very small community. Maybe we had 1 or 2 meetings a week. I think it was about 1 meeting a week. And some of the meetings I would go to, and you could barely circle a table to hold hands and say a prayer to close the meeting. So it was a very small community. But nonetheless, it was enough. And it was enough. They had a message of Alcoholics Anonymous that I could not relate to. I talk about, because my subject is about the potential alcoholic. I came in by mistake. That's my little, I don't belong here. I came in by mistake. And I would listen to the meetings, and I was trying to get the ex-husband sober. Like, he drinks really a lot, and that's I got to find out all about how to have him stop drinking. And the very next meeting I went to, they sent me to Al-Anon, which is the family and friends of alcoholics. And I would go to both, because Al-Anon suggests you go to open AA meetings. So I would go to open AA meetings, and I would listen. And they would talk about jails, and they would talk about institutions and homelessness. And I would sit there and go, I am none of those. And then I would share they wanted my honesty. I would sit there and say, wow, you guys all really need to be here. And it just, I just couldn't relate. But I kept coming to the meetings. And so for 6 weeks, I would come to meetings, and I would go home and I would drink. And I would go to work every day. I went to work 6 days a week. I had no problem showing up for work. But I drank every night. And I fought with the ex-husband all the time. And but then I would run off to a meeting because I heard something there, or I felt something there that I had never experienced before. And that was people genuinely, honestly talking about their feelings. And it was just something that was so refreshing. And you guys didn't ask me to leave. You didn't say I didn't qualify. You didn't say, what's your story? One person said to me, why don't you try coming to meetings for 90 days? And after that, if you don't like us, you will refund your misery. And I walked away in shock, going, how did he know? I haven't shared one bit about my misery. And he had a sense that I was miserable. And so I finally heard that whole, test. Why don't you test it out? See if you're alcoholic or not. And so I came in around the holidays. And so around the end of December, I went to a bar, I took 2 drinks, and I walked away. I'm like, I don't have a problem. I don't think I have a problem. And yet it was like, okay, it's time to go to a meeting. And I would ask people, like, I don't drink like the people in the big book. I don't drink like people that are sharing. One man talked about, I drank for 45 years, then I got sober. And it's like, I'm not even 45 years old. I'm 21 and I just got started. What do you know? Why are you guys saying I have a problem? And somebody pointed out to me, we've not told you to come to these meetings, and we're not making you come to these meetings. Why are you coming? I was like, oh, I don't know why I keep coming, because I think to sit at home alone or sit at home with the ex-husband that I don't like is worse, really, really worse. And that I don't know why I keep coming. I think I just need to keep coming. But nobody told me to stop what I was doing. I didn't come to meetings drunk or anything like that. I was very contained and very under control. And there is a part in the big book that talks about that we could not control and enjoy our drinking. And I was always under control, and I never could enjoy myself. Um, and I had to look at my step one really carefully, and I really wasn't willing to do that until that in that 6 weeks time. It came the new year, and our little fellowship had a New Year alkathon all night long, and I convinced the ex-husband to come with me. There's going to be food, there's going to be dancing. And we got there, and the food was all gone, and the dancing was over, and there was just a meeting. And pretty much I said, just leave me here. I'm not going to go back home with you. And so I stayed all night long, really whining about my situation and not sure about being an alcoholic at all. But I heard enough to say, okay, I had a clean and sober New Year's Eve, and I'm gonna kind of start fresh and have a clear mind. I'm gonna just figure out how to leave this ex-husband of mine. And 3 days, and so New Year's Eve is when I stopped. And 3 days later, I had a company picnic, and they had beer, and I drank my soda and cigarettes all day long, the whole time, until it was time to go home to the guy I don't like. And I was handed a beer. Here, take a beer for the road. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I started drinking it as I was driving home, looking at the beer and saying, wait a minute, I've been to 2 months of meetings saying that no human power will stop you from drinking. And here I am all this time thinking, I'm not that far gone. I'm not as bad off as all of you. I can stop at any time. And the moment I said I was going to stay stopped, I lasted 3 days. And it just scared me. If I'm not that bad off and I cannot stay stopped, what is down the road for me? And so that began my sobriety. My sobriety is January 4, the next day, 1987. I was 21 and a half, and it was a really big struggle to identify my alcoholism, to want to understand or want to stay. And but I got a sponsor, and that sponsor got me writing my first step. Some people like the reading on the daily reflections about reconstructing their lives. I had no life. I was 21. Like I got married at 19. Like to some guy I don't like. Like that was my unmanageability. And I lived in a room in a house, and I drove a little moped. Like that had no life to reconstruct. So I couldn't relate to that. But my sponsor had me write down all the times I was unmanageable, all the times I said I wanted to quit, and I didn't quit. And when I look back now, I started drinking at 11 years old. My father became disabled, and the family that I knew had disappeared, and I disappeared with it. I just dove into my drinking. At 11, can't really drink every time, a whole bunch, but I believe the alcoholic mind kicked in full steam. I remembered just being so focused on where am I going to get my drink next. I was irritable and discontent when I didn't drink, and I was unhappy. There's just something has to change. Something has to be different. And I don't have a dad anymore. My mother's a rageaholic. She screams and yells all the time. She's so checked out. And she was abusive. And so by 13, I'm like running away from home. I just have no tolerance. I can't handle this. I'm not dealing with all of these people. Plus, I've got a mom who wants to hit me. I'm out of here. And so I ran away from home. I'm going to figure this all out myself. And I ended up getting placed with my aunt for 3 months. And then when I got back, my parents had divorced, and I went off to live with my father. And pretty much after 1 year of high school, I said I would take care of my father, and him and I would just live together. And I dropped out on my 10th year of high school. I got a fake ID that said I was 21 at 15 years old. So instantly I was 6 years older. Instantly I was an adult. Instantly I could go to nightclubs and bars and drink. And where I grew up in California, we lived 4 hours from casinos, and I would drive out to casinos so that I could drink for free as long as I gambled a little bit here and there. And that was my childhood. That was my adolescence. And I look back, and I look back and I realized at 13 that, okay, I'm going into high school. Maybe I should stop hanging around with the people that are drinking. I'm gonna get serious and get involved, get in the student body, become the class treasurer, and try this out. But without knowing about my disease, 9 months of stopping of everything, I drank again. I got a boyfriend whose father was an alcoholic and just continually gave me the alcohol that I wanted. And I never could drink very much. That was the thing. Alcohol was poison to me, but I loved the effect. I loved the checking out. And at 11 and 12 years old, I had the little airplane bottles in my little cabinet in my bedroom, and I had the big bottles in my closet that I had stolen. And I never could have very much, but it was just enough to just check out. And so when I tried to quit at 13, it didn't work. And at 16, I had an altercation, had a confrontation with my mother. She had pretty much abandoned me and my younger brother. And I was asking for child support, money to support me and my son and my brother, because I'm not a mom, but I'm like trying to, I don't know, had this teenage brother that I had to take care of. And she just was so in my face and angry. She came after me. I hit her. I gave her bruises. I didn't care. Like, I was more irritable, angry, discontent when I wasn't drinking. And there was just no stopping me. I was just so angry at her and everybody in my life. So if I look back, if I had stopped drinking at 14 and understood this program and learned of this program, maybe I wouldn't have run away from home. Maybe I wouldn't have dropped out of high school. Maybe I wouldn't have hit my mother. I'm the only sibling of 4 children that is in a 12-step program that had hit my mom. Well, I did not build any relationships with her. I've met somebody at 19 who he grew marijuana plants. That was the only requirement, and I married him. And he was also my ticket to go back to Malaysia, where I was born, where my mother's family is there, and my mother's mother, my grandmother, is still alive, and I wanted to be with her. And so my delusions and my visions of what it was going to be like, I didn't tell anybody else, but I wanted to go back there and learn the language, learn how to speak Chinese. I'm Chinese in Malaysia, and my family's in Malaysia, and live with my grandmother for a 3-month visa and be with her, but introduce her to my husband. And we get over there, and then within 2 weeks, my mother's mother finds out that I got married and did not invite my mother to the wedding, and that she could see, she can't even speak English, but she could see how selfish and self-centered I was. I was dressing inappropriately in her hometown and just behaving very shamefully for her. And she asked me to leave the country after 2 weeks. And I just, I couldn't understand that. I'm like, what happened? I'm like, okay, never mind. We're not getting along. And I left there and settled in Hawaii. So I moved from California to Hawaii, and I turned 21 in Maui, and then 6 months later I got sober, and 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 now here I am trying to work this program. I have left the husband. I just didn't want anything more to do with him, but I didn't know how to be alone. I didn't know how to live sober, and I didn't know how to live sober alone. And I connected with a man 2 weeks after I got sober, and he was 18 months sober and I was 2 weeks sober. So, he's 23 and I was 21. We're a match made in heaven. Like, you got to be with me. I'm the one. And I don't think I would have stayed in Alcoholics Anonymous without this person taking me to meetings. His sponsor opened meetings. His sponsor was in service and in a group, and he was so adamant that we carry this message to Alcoholics Anonymous. To alcoholics. And so I followed him around to all of his service commitments. And in that first year of my sobriety, I saw the magic of people getting sober, and I saw the magic of people being in service. And in that first year of my sobriety, I got pregnant, and this man was the father of my baby. I watched him after my first year of sobriety stop going to meetings after the baby came. He felt like, okay, I've got to get serious now. I have a baby to take care of. And he stopped all of his service commitments. He stopped going to meetings, but he had given me a foundation of, you go to meetings, you work the steps, you be involved, and you learn about the traditions. I fell in love with Alcoholics Anonymous and a sober alcoholic, but I fell in love with Alcoholics Anonymous, and I couldn't understand why he walked away of all of his service commitments. And I watched him, and then into my second year of sobriety, I watched him get thicker and thicker, and the soul sickness of not going to meetings and not working a program tore us apart. I had to issue a restraining order and ask the police to take him out of our home as he was wrapping Christmas presents. It was really very difficult. And then I picked up my second year celebration, and I wasn't celebrating. I was alone again and I was really alone for the first time in all of my sobriety. I was 2 years sober, and I wanted to drink. And my story today is that I've never stayed stopped. I've told myself I wanted to stop, and I never stayed stopped till I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, and until I applied, I got a sponsor, and I worked the steps. And here I was at 2 years of sobriety, calling my sponsor every day alone, devastated by this breakup of this nuclear family. Like, here I am coming from a divorced parents, and here I am, I'm a single mom, and I just was so devastating that I wanted to drink. And my sponsor said, just look at all of the steps you've worked, get into service, stay in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous, and you'll get through this. And so I became a general service rep, and I started reaching out to other young people. By this time, I'm 23. There's no other people at my age that were staying sober, and little by slow, people in the community started sending them to my home group and sending them to my home, and we started building a fellowship. I started building a fellowship that I craved. Like, I craved being around other young people, and we had all this high energy, and we would take the big book and we would hike up into the mountains, and we would at the end of our hike, we would read the big book and have a meeting. We would stay up late and build a bonfire on the beach and swim in the ocean, and then dry off by the fire and read the big book and have a meeting. It was a magical time of fellowship that I craved, of the young people that had the same amount of energy and not the ones that go to bed at 9 o'clock at night and had nothing else to do. Anyway, so in that fellowship, we built up a camp out events, and then we started bidding to host a convention. And along this first 10 years of my sobriety, I did a lot of outreach with young people, and I actually ended up helping to host a conference called International Conference of Young People in AA, and it's for everybody, room to grow, young at heart people, but it was primarily hosted by people that were young, but it took me off of my island to the bigger island where there's a big city and there was more fellowship that could help be of service. But it also took me to the island that had a 4-year college. So I got a college degree. Actually, I got 2 college degrees while I was there. My higher power said, after working steps, I got this beautiful relationship with a higher power that has guided me to tell me, okay, you can't just go to Honolulu, go to Oahu and host this conference. You have to go and sign up at this 4-year college too. And I'll guide you and be with you along the way. And I was taken care of by the fellowship. And I got through those 4 years of college, and along the way, my higher power kept saying, okay, there's more people here. You're going to meet the man of your dreams. Just be on the lookout, do the footwork, date, and don't take hostages. Like, oh, okay. I was a single mom for 8 years, and I kept arguing with my higher power, but you don't understand. I want to go back to Maui. There's too many people on this island. But you say I'm gonna meet the man of my dreams in this big city. I don't want that. Well, my current husband now, he's also a member of AA. He went into AA service, and the area assembly was in Honolulu, and I met him there, and we started dating, and he brought me back to Maui. So, just following guidance was really beautiful. That was my, at 10 years of sobriety, I got married. I moved back to Maui, and we began a family. I was a single mom, he was a single father. We put our life together and adopted each other's children, and decided to have 2 more children. But we both were very adamant about keeping AA in our lives. I said, I'm not going to do a rerun of that first sober relationship. I mean, we need to stay on this spiritual path. And so we both got involved in area service. And I was an area recording secretary for 2 years while I was pregnant and had our first child together. So it's possible to be in service and have kids. But that was a wonderful foundation for the both of us. We really had a lot of wonderful memories, and being involved in helping Alcoholics Anonymous in that area. Well, after that, we had some emergencies, some mental health issues about our teenagers. Right? Ooh, I think I have 5 minutes left. Anyways, and so just to say.
No, sorry, Julie. It was just somebody unmuting themselves. Please carry on. Yeah. You still have 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I understand. So, so I wouldn't recommend having toddlers and teenagers at the same time. It was very distraught. But all through that, I had a sponsor. I was in meetings. I had sponsees, and I believe that really helped me build. Now it was time to help build my family relations. And I want to tell you that working the steps constantly, living them, making them a part of my life was so important, because I didn't sign up for this, but at 14 years of sobriety, I got to go back to Malaysia. I got to go back to Malaysia with the blessings of my mother. My mother took us. My mother-in-law came along. my 2 teenage children and my 15-month-old new baby, we got to go back to Malaysia, and my grandmother had passed, but my mother's cousins, now my mother was the eldest of all of them, all of her cousins said to me, you know, don't wait so long to come back next time. That I went with her blessings. And that is, to me, the ultimate 9th step of mending relations. So in my 20s, the times of my sobriety was about building family relations. And then now in my 3rd decade, in my 30s, my kids have grown successfully. They all have higher educations. My youngest now is just graduated from high school and heading off to college in Japan. I mean, I've done it sober. That's the story here. Like I can't tell you whether I drank alcoholically or not, but I know that I didn't drink through being homeless in my car with my babies, looking for a new place to live as a single mom. I didn't drink through the hardest times of being in college and having no money for my little boy. I didn't drink through I didn't drink before the miracle of going back to Malaysia with my mother. I didn't drink through my older son's suicide attempts. I mean, I've gone through a lot of hard times, and I've gone through a lot of celebratory times. And I've learned early on here, you join the Don't Drink No Matter What club, and you stay in the steps and stay in service, and the blessings will come, the blessings will pass. Life on life's terms will not be so difficult, because I haven't had to do any of them alone. I haven't had to feel desperate and irritable and discontent again. And now I'm still involved in service. I'm involved in ISMEPA, which is the International Service Meeting of Young People in AA, which is to foster helping to start carrying the message to help young people get sober on an international level. And I'm also a part of OldiePA, which is my little t-shirt here. OldiePA. These are the people who got sober as young people in AA, and now we're not so young. We're a little bit older, and we're still playful, and we wanted to form a retreat. And so now we couldn't do the face-to-face retreat this year, so we're all online. And so if you want to hear speakers with lots of sobriety that got sober young, I'll put in the chat. Actually, it's oldiepod.org, and just go in there and register, and you guys can jump in on the Zoom meetings. So with that, I'm still in service. I'm still loving Alcoholics Anonymous, and thanks very much for letting me share.
Thank you very much, Julie. What a wonderful, powerful sharing. And if I may, I just want to, things that are related to, I just want to repeat them, just summarize them. You started off with saying it doesn't matter whether it's small or a large AA community. It's the message that counts. And what's the message? It's honesty and acceptance. It doesn't matter if you don't relate in the beginning. Eventually, I will feel something genuine and refreshing and freedom from misery and reconstruct my life. If I genuinely listen to this program, I will eventually understand it. My delusions, my selfishness, my self-centeredness will go away. I have got peace now. Why? Because of this program. Now I am in love with AA. I need to keep AA in my life, period. Now I need to carry this message to others. That is the most important thing, what you said, the service that we need to pass on to the others as well. So thank you so much for your wonderful sharing. Please stay with us till the end. I'm sure there will be questions or comments for yourself later on. So please stay with us. Thank you once again. I'm going to stop this recording and restart for our second speaker. Please bear with me, friends.